Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're tackling something that pretty much everyone does, but honestly, very few people actually understand. If you've spent, literally any time online lately, you've definitely seen the massive, fiery debate around the 14-hour fast. Social media is just flooded with folks claiming that simply waiting 14 hours to eat is some kind of magical biological hack. And then on the flip side, you have people completely dismissing it as totally useless. So what's the real story? Our goal today is to cut right through all the extreme diet culture noise and look strictly at the objective biological timeline. We're going to explore exactly what quietly happens inside your body when that clock is ticking and you actually stop eating for 14 hours. All right, let's dive right into this. Think about a standard daily schedule for a second. You probably finish dinner around, say, 8 p.m. Then maybe you grab a quick late-night snack right around 10 p.m. while winding down. The next morning, you wake up and have breakfast at 7 a.m. Well, if we do the math on that, it leaves a tiny, tiny window of only 9 hours without food. And remember, for almost all of that incredibly short time, you're literally just sleeping. Which brings me to a really important question for you. Do you ever actually fast? Because of this super tight 9-hour timeline we just looked at, your body is effectively stuck in a continuous fed state. From the absolute moment you wake up, right until your head hits the pillow, your system is actively processing incoming calories. So you might feel like you've taken a break from eating, but biologically speaking, your engine is constantly running on brand new fuel. There's no break. Let's set up a biological countdown. We're going to track your body, hour by hour, starting from that very last bite of dinner at 8 p.m. We'll move through the midnight transition, push into the early morning hours, and finally land at what people love to call the sweet spot at 10 a.m. Let's see exactly what's quietly happening under the hood during this whole journey. Okay, imagine it's 8 p.m. You've just finished dinner. During these first 1 to 4 hours, your body gets straight to work. Digestion kicks into high gear. Your blood sugar starts rising as that food is broken down. And all that newly acquired energy is actively flowing out, getting distributed directly to the muscles and organs that need it right then and there. Now, as that incoming food converts into blood sugar, a very specific gauge starts to tick upward. Insulin. I know a lot of people hear the word insulin and instantly think, oh, that's the bad guy. But biologically, it's really just a simple, incredibly efficient storage hormone. Its entire job is just to manage your incoming nutrients and route them into your primary storage tanks. At this stage, your body naturally prefers using the easily accessible fuel that's currently flowing in. And because of that, your secondary tank, which is your stored fat, well, that stays completely locked up tight. Moving on to hours 4 through 8, so we're talking roughly between midnight and 4 a.m., we hit this really cool transition phase. Everything starts to quiet down metabolically. The food from your last meal is pretty much fully processed. Your blood sugar stabilizes, and crucially, your insulin begins to fall. And because that insulin is dropping, your body is automatically triggered by its own standard biology to shift its fuel sources. Think of this metabolic shift kind of like your personal finances. When you just ate, your body was basically spending wallet cash, the easily accessible incoming food. But now that the wallet is empty, the system disconnects from incoming food and begins drawing heavily from its savings account, which is your stored liver glycogen. And here is a totally vital point. You don't need any special supplements or magic detox drinks to trigger this. None of that. This is just standard human biology kicking in the second digestion naturally wraps up. All right, now we hit hours 8 to 12. For most of us, this is the deep overnight period. You are sound asleep, but guess what? Your metabolism doesn't sleep. It keeps working silently in the background. Your liver glycogen is steadily depleting as the night rolls on, and at the same time, your growth hormone naturally rises to handle all that essential cellular repair throughout your body. So as that liver glycogen drops, your body naturally starts accessing small amounts of stored fat. But let's be completely impartial and realistic for a second. Your body fat does not just suddenly melt away while you sleep. It doesn't happen in some massive rush. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a slow, steady blend of different fuel sources working perfectly together, just keeping your bodily engine running smoothly until morning. Then the sun comes up. We hit the 12-hour mark, and things get metabolically fascinating. Because you still haven't eaten, your insulin remains very low. And this low insulin environment ramps up a process called fat oxidation. Put simply, your body becomes increasingly willing and able to burn fat for fuel, which brings us right into the sweet spot of the 14-hour fasting window. Let's fast forward to 10 a.m. That is exactly 14 hours after that 8 p.m. dinner.
By this point, your body's ratio of fuel sources has fundamentally shifted. At this 14-hour mark, you're relying on a significantly greater percentage of stored fat for energy compared to those initial hours right after dinner. Basically, you've successfully transitioned your body into an environment perfectly suited for mobilizing stored energy.
But, okay, we really have to address the elephant in the room here. We have to ask the exact question that is constantly popping up all over our social media feeds. Does this magically melt away belly fat? Diet culture absolutely loves to claim that specific fasts or exercises target stubborn belly fat. So let's look at what the biology actually dictates. The short answer? No, because the human body simply does not work like a laser beam. When fat is mobilized for energy during this 14-hour window, it isn't just pulled from one specific spot. It's drawn evenly and simultaneously from storage sites all over your body. It's pulling from your arms, your back, your legs, and your torso. So yes, while the fast is definitely mobilizing fat, you literally cannot biologically command it to only take from the belly. But here is the ultimate twist of this entire explainer. While that metabolic transition toward fat oxidation is very real and totally biologically documented, it might not actually be the primary driver of weight loss. I know, crazy, right? The real secret to why the 14-hour fast works so amazingly well often just comes down to simple behavioral math. Here's what I mean. By establishing a hard eating boundary between 8 p.m. and 10 a.m., you automatically delete the late-night snacking window entirely. Think about all those mindless calories that typically vanish when you enforce this one simple rule. The ice cream, the cookies, that bag of chips you eat while sitting in front of the TV. Hundreds of hidden, completely unnecessary nighttime calories just disappear. For a lot of people, consistently removing those calories creates way more reliable results than the biological fasting state itself. The real beauty of the 14-hour timeline is that it's just so realistic. You sleep through the absolute hardest part, which prevents that extreme hunger and the need for intense discipline. But remember, fasting is merely a tool. It does not replace your fundamental biological requirements. To actually see long-term results, you still absolutely need overall calorie awareness, adequate protein to maintain your muscle, and proper restful sleep. You really can't just fast for 14 hours and ignore the basic foundations of health. Which brings us to our final thought for today. Long-term progress rarely comes from agonizing diets or singular massive overnight changes. Real progress comes from quiet biological shifts driven by small, consistent daily decisions. Tonight, try treating the hours after dinner not as some kind of restriction, but just as a natural biological countdown that lets your body do exactly what it evolved to do. So, I'll leave you with this. What quiet biological shift can you start making tonight? Thanks for exploring the science with me, and keep making those small, consistent decisions.